Well, when I was a lad, we never had cinnamon sugar coated pretzel sticks.
3SFX presents the indoob podcast with your host, T. Sterling Watson.
Good morning, Indoobians. How are you all today? This is actually now the 78th time I've decided to record this particular episode. This is episode 4, and I am T. Sterling Watson. This is the Indoob Podcast. How is everybody? I asked everybody that already, right? Yeah. It's just me today. Me with the little pooch known as Chief. So if you hear some scampering or running around or any little squeaky noises, then that's just Chief being Chief. First of all, I just want to thank once again. I know it's been maybe a little over a month now. I want to thank Laura for guesting on the last episode. It was a great episode. She definitely will be a return guest because we've got a lot in common, a lot of insights, a lot of things to discuss film-wise, and just other things in general. I do have other guests I do want to bring on the show, and they shall be, guests in the future. Obviously, because I just said it, but in time, definitely that will happen. I was going to have one, I guess, last week or a week ago, and things just didn't work out. But hey, in the future, that will happen. So, moving on, I also realized that every episode doesn't necessarily need to be an hour. And after listening to several other podcasts I love to listen to, I realized I could just do like a quick, 15 minutes or so, just to let you know, hey, I'm here. And it's more about, being consistent than, necessarily like the content. I mean, the content definitely does help because I do want to bring something to your knowledge base, your entertainment base, your infomercial base. Is that a thing? Sure, let's make it a thing. Your informational base. I want to bring something to your informational base, and whether even if I could just drop some knowledge in like a span of like 5 minutes. I even had notes. I have notes, but they're in another room, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just do this now. I'm gonna free winging it. Yes, free winging it, not just winging it, but free winging it. But I mean, I had a whole handful of things that I wanted to discuss. I wanted to do my top albums of last year and so far the top albums of this year because, I mean, today, Alabama Shakes released their new album, which is hot. That's with a couple H's in there. They're silent H's, so maybe it just sounds more like hot. So that's almost like a snake, I guess. Snakes don't do that. They're more like a hiss. And I got to go back and cut that out now because I don't want any hissing sounds in the podcast. Anyway, I have a whole bunch of albums from last year that I want to discuss at the beginning of this year. But that didn't happen because I forget what reason, why. It doesn't matter. And I've got albums so far, even though it's only, end of April almost, that I've picked out and said, hey, these albums are pretty good, and you should check them out too. And but we're gonna save all that for maybe the next episode, or maybe I can get around to it later. Who knows? Point is, I want to be more consistent with this podcast because I don't necessarily want to just drop an episode on you every sporadically when I feel like today's a good time for an episode. Let me do it now, and then it doesn't happen. So. Because, like I said, I've recorded this particular episode, all these different segments, and then I go back and I realize, oh my God, I forgot to say this, and I don't want to keep doing that. I just want to just get it all out there and push, post, or publish, or whatever buttons I push. I'm also having a difficult getting this pod. I'm having a difficult time getting the pod. I'm having a difficult time saying this. I'm having a difficult time getting the podcast on iTunes because of color issues with the icons or whatever that I use. I don't know. Working on that. I know people want to hear it on iTunes so they can subscribe and get it regularly. I'm working on it. I know it. But the reason why there's a whole bunch of things going on right now, my current job situation. I mean, I'm still employed, but like our job is, or our company is, for lack of better words, being taken over by another company. So there's a whole lot of transition going on, a whole lot of paperwork got to be written out, blah blah blah. So that's one end of it. The church is doing a whole bunch of new, different, exciting new things. So I'm working on that and doing research on other things to get for the church and all that fun stuff. And just just life in general. Life happens, and you got to kind of roll with the punches. And some things kind of get what's the word? I almost want to say they're thrown under the bus, but they're not really thrown under the bus. But you just gotta roll with the punches, and some things are kind of put by the wayside because it doesn't have priority. And unfortunately, it feels like that this particular show is one of those things that wasn't really high on the priority list. It is, trust me, it is to me, at least anyway. And I just had to carve out some time to make sure that this podcast gets the proper treatment it needs, the proper production, just the content in general. Like I said, I've got stuff. Don't worry, I've got stuff to discuss. In fact, I even have I almost want to call it a back catalog, but I do have past footage. I'm putting that in air quotes, and I know air quotes work great for audio, but I don't really know what the term is. It's just audio. Can you use the term footage when you're discussing like audio clips? But I have clips of audio or audio footage. We'll go audio footage. That's more for your infotainment base. I'm already changing what it is that I'm calling it. Infomercial base. I'm sorry. I think that's what it was. I know what infomercials are. Yes. Do you need a Swiffer today? That's more of a regular commercial. I take that back. What is an infomercial? A good popular one. Snuggies. They start out as infomercials, right? Did they have a whole 30 minutes devoted to Snuggies? I don't think that they did. Anyway, I do have stuff to talk about. I mean, for this particular episode, I do want to just touch on just two things. One, first of all, let's just talk about time management real quick, just because that's something that I'm still actively dealing with. Is just setting time aside to do a specific thing for that allotted time, and I kind of struggle with that sometimes because I don't always like to do it, and I don't tell people I do it because I don't do it that often, but I don't like to schedule my time around TV. As much as I love TV, these days anyway, because I know a few years ago I wasn't so crazy about it, but there are some good shows out there, and I want to, take time out to appreciate them and watch them live, but a lot of times I can't because maybe there's another show on or I'm just not home, and that often is the case. I'm just not home. So when I am home, I'm like, all right, I'm home, let me, catch this show now so I can live tweet and chat with all my Twitter buddies about like, oh, what's Ryan Hardy doing now? It's only the first thing that came to mind because that's what I was tweeting about last night. And Saturdays end up being my days to just catch up on like all the stuff that I've been DVRing. So I mean, I recently had a marathon of Jane the Virgin and Bates Motel because they both come on Monday nights, and actually they both come on at the same time. So you're going from something completely dark to something nice and lighthearted. And that Norman Bates, he is so lighthearted, and Jane just brings me down all the time. So that's typically how I've been spending my Saturdays, which isn't a bad thing. And I just veg out and just eat stuff, watch TV, take naps. It's kind of what Saturday is meant to do, or you're meant to do on a Saturday, I guess. And I'm okay with it. I'm fine because it's my time to relax and not do any work, because that's what Saturday's built for. I mean, it's in the Bible. God rested on the Sabbath, on the seventh day, and the seventh day is a Saturday. Okay, maybe it's a Sunday. I don't know. I mean, I should know, but I don't know. I'm not really sure with the Sabbath. I think that it's supposed to be a Sunday, but I'm basically resting on Saturday. Yes, that was Chief. Just probably barking at the neighbors because he likes to do that. Not when anybody comes to our house, but the neighbor's house, sure, he'll let everybody know. Like, hey, the neighbor's home. great. He's a wonderful dog. I love him. Hey, this is DJ Joe Daddy, not Joe Daddy, bringing you the hits you missed or ain't never heard. Y'all gonna hear them right here on WIDB 129.5. Hey! Coming up next, coming straight out of Nashville, Tennessee, we got Anderson East with Satisfy Me, right here on WIDB 129.5.
I sent the finest brand, smelled the sweetest perfume, and I kissed the softest lips, but even they wouldn't do. And I drove the arm to arm in a coupe de ville. I climbed the Kilimanjaro, and it was just a hill. And I was gonna take more to satisfy me. Satisfy me. And now listen here, baby, you're just as fine as they come, but you're a selfish little lover, hot and cold, hit and run. Oh, got PhD in TLC, and there's so many fish in the sea. It's gonna take more to satisfy me. Oh, satisfy me. Now it's gonna take more. Gonna take more. It's gonna take more to satisfy me. And satisfy me. To satisfy me. To satisfy me. Oh, satisfy.
So let's talk about TIDAL. TIDAL, if you have not heard about it, it's one of the newest streaming services for music and actually music videos. It's actually one of the advantages of the whole TIDAL app or TIDAL service. But it's mostly for streaming music. Now, maybe it's my personal opinion, but I feel like the streaming market is pretty saturated as it is, because I mean, everybody that knows me knows I'm a huge fan for Spotify. I basically want to be a spokesperson. I would rather be a paid spokesperson, but they kind of use music as their spokesperson. If you've ever seen any of their commercials, they're usually just showing music that they have on their service, or playing it while they watch or show people just partying, or riding in cars or hanging out on beaches, whatever. But I would like to really be an advocate for Spotify, because I just love their service. I love the curated playlist. I love the new Music Tuesdays. There's just so much I love about them. I can go on for days. And yes, they do have. It is free to use. You can go ahead and open it up. I guess you have to log in through Facebook now, but since I started so early, I don't have to, but I do on occasion. I just don't like letting people know what I'm listening to. I don't know why, because I do it here. But anyway, I know why. Because there's times that I'll listen to the same song over and over again, and I don't necessarily want people to know that I was like, wow, he's really listening to that song a lot. But at the same time, I'm realizing that people don't necessarily watch you as much as you think that they are, and the people that you don't expect to be watching you are the ones that are watching you, if that makes any sense. Yeah, true fact. That's a true fact. Take that to the bank. Anyway, I'm here to talk about TIDAL. And The reason why I kind of went off a little tangent with Spotify is because I am biased. There are a bunch of streaming services out there, but Spotify is the one that I like the best. They do have a free service, but I actually subscribe and I have the premium plan, which is $9.99. I mention that because Tidal is a paid service only. You can only subscribe with, I guess the standard one is $9.99, and then the one they really want you to go for is the $19.99 service. Now, why would you do that? Tidal wants you to get the best like premium sound that you can get, like a whole high fidelity thing. In fact, I think that's what it's called, Tidal Hi-Fi. They're really stressing these eyes on there, but it's supposed to be like the top of the line quality sound, streaming through whatever device you're listening to. So much so that I've actually seen someone take a screenshot of listening to only one song on Spotify and then listening to that same exact song on Tidal, and it took up wow, I actually left a screenshot on a phone that's not in the same room with me right now, but a significant difference. I think ballparking, I'll say they maybe only use 15 megabytes of data listening to one song through Spotify, and then they maybe used up maybe 63 megabytes on that same song through Tidal. So that's a whole lot of data that you're using up for those people who are data savvy, which you probably should be if you are, limited. And that's, I mean, they're using it as like on their LTV or LTE service, so it's not through Wi-Fi. They're actually listening, like using their data. So if you're going to listen using your data, like you're driving on the highway or whatever, that's a lot of data you're going to be using if you're going to try to listen to a whole album. So that's one out of many points against them. The other point is just how much you're paying to use the service. Like $20. That's actually kind of a lot of money. I mean, unless you have that kind of money to spare on that kind of subscription. I mean, even Netflix, they're what, $8 a month. So that's I get unlimited movies for $8 a month, and you want me to watch, or not watch. The selling point for me is the music videos, because Spotify doesn't have that. Pandora definitely doesn't have that. You go down the list of all these other services. I wanted to include Amazon, but Amazon, like Amazon Prime, they have a whole slew of things for what I think it's $99 a year now, and I haven't broken down the math to how much that is a month, but you pay yearly or annually anyway, so it's kind of difficult. Whereas, Tidal, it is what it is. Now, why are we even discussing it? Is because of the whole ceremony, if you want to call it that, of them introducing themselves. And I mean they because it's Jay-Z's company. He bought this Norwegian streaming company and decided it's kind of like for artists by artists kind of thing, where all these other artists kind of bought into the app or the service, and they had a whole production or a whole to-do about it, where you saw them all signing like maybe an agreement or a contract with them. I think they all actually bought like a 3% stake. I think for $3 million each, if I remember correctly from the article that I read. I'm not prepared like with all the facts and stuff in front of me clearly, because I would just read the article to you or take out the key points. It's almost like a spur of the moment thing. I'm doing this, but it's the point that I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing it, man. But Jay-Z, along with his other fellow artists, all these artists, by the way, like naming a few that I remember being there, like Kanye West and Beyonce and Madonna, Rihanna, the Chica Cabana. I couldn't think of a name that rhymes with that. But basically all these big name stars, millionaires, or even some of them probably are in the billionaire area by now, all kind of concerned about their music being released in such a way that they're not getting the royalties back, or not seeing enough royalties through services like Spotify. They don't make enough money back on the return end, which that is something that I kind of do understand. I mean, the Black Keys, they don't like to have like their newest material out on Spotify because they don't like the way that their business model set up. I'm talking about Spotify right now, and their argument is because of I mean, it's not them getting paid, it's their like when they go out on tour or even in their studio sessions, that the money that they get from royalties is to really to pay them, which I mean that makes a lot of sense. And from what I've always understood, most artists really make their money back through ticket sales, through like when they go out on tour. But I don't know. It gets all a little murky, and the music industry is not something I know a whole lot about. I know just enough of it just to get an understanding of it. But people are starting to say or kind of wonder, like, okay, so these are just these rich folk just trying to make sure that they stay rich or keep the money in their pocket or keep some of the money. I don't really understand it, but just the fact that they want us to buy more into the service. It's I don't know. I'm not sold, especially since recent news. I guess just a couple days ago, or even last week, the CEO I guess was fired, and followed by I guess 25 other employees. I guess to streamline the company. I guess there were some redundancies in the network or the company itself, which I can understand. I've been a victim of these redundancies working at a corporation, and then they let me go because of they didn't require my services anymore. So, but I mean that was a company that's been long established, many years, whereas Tidal has only been around, or I mean at least to our knowledge. I mean I don't know how long the company's been along before Jay-Z picked it up and bought it. I think it was either at the beginning of the year, or maybe it was actually around early March. I don't remember, but only we, the society people, regular folks like you and me, we've only known about it maybe about a month, or at least I have known about a month. So yeah, the fact that a whole bunch of people, I don't even know how big the company actually is, like how many people work there, but it's kind of a big news and not a good sign if your staff is being let go like this, especially your CEO. So it's just doesn't look good. But the only other selling points, and I know I'm going way out of order, but again, like I'm telling you, I have no notes in front of me, and I'm only here just to tell you about not Spotify. I'm here to tell you about Tidal, and with all the artists that have signed on, they can release like exclusive new music through their service. I'm assuming they're gonna trickle it down later on in like a couple weeks. So like if Rihanna releases a new song or new video through Tidal, then we're not gonna see it or have any other ways like through YouTube or Spotify or Pandora or even terrestrial radio. I guess we're not gonna hear it through those sources until some days or weeks later, which is one of the perks of being a subscribing member to Tidal, or a way that an artist can really do exclusive things for their fans. I guess that's how they see it. But there are other artists who aren't really that fond of Tidal and their business model, because if you're like an independent artist and you want to put your music on there, I don't think there's anything stopping you, but I guess you can't really buy into that whole 3 million thing. I mean, especially if you're just starting out. And definitely not as much if you want to get on iTunes or Spotify, because I do know through some of the other readings I've done that you can get your music on those places, but for way less cheaper. And you're not buying it to the company; you just want to get your music out there. And I think we all know you gotta spend money to make money. But that's a different matter entirely. And I probably have some people I could talk to see how they feel about all this stuff. But it's still very early. We're gonna hold on. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna look out for you, and keep an eye on Tidal, see how it's going, and then we'll touch base on it like in a couple months from now to see how it's going. And I'll let you know. You know what? The company's pretty good. Go for it. Get a little subscription. Check it out. A trial. I think they do have a trial for like maybe a week. I think Beats had a trial for like a week. That's also a service you have to subscribe to that you can't listen for free, and it's a lot like Spotify. I don't know how much it's changed in the past year, I would say, because I tried it for a year, and they actually had maybe one or two artists that Spotify didn't have. But I mean, I felt too at home, too comfortable with Spotify that I didn't really want to switch that up. So I'm kind of stuck with them. It was really going to take me a lot. It'd take a company or some kind of service to break away from Spotify. I think it's just going to have to shut down in order for me to have to move somewhere else. But as far as I know, I did read somewhere that, again, it would be great to sort these, source and or cite these things that I'm saying, because right now it's just hearsay. But I believe I did read that Spotify is like one of the top streaming apps now. So if you're not on it, you should definitely get on it by now, because it's great. I love it. I think down maybe future episodes, maybe I'll actually start having sponsors, and maybe Spotify could be one of them, and be like, hey, if you're not on Spotify yet, you can use my coupon code, because I hear that on every other podcast I listen to. Well, not everyone, but that's the point. Although I would also like to give a quick shout out to Nardelli's, because they will be feeding me in just a few minutes. I cannot wait to wrap my lips around that delicious sandwich. So good. Yes, I still love Nardelli's. They're just wonderful. I did not get a cheesecake burrito this time, but I'll probably get one next time. Wait, did I say cheesecake burrito? Yeah, that's what it is. What am I thinking of? Oh, cheesecake chimichanga. Yes, that is like a cheesecake burrito, but with ice cream and a little bit more cinnamon sugar, I think. And you could probably only get those at like Mexican restaurants. So, I don't know. Just saying, Nardelli's, think about it. I mean, you got your cheesecake burrito, which is great. I love it because it's handheld. I can pick it up and take it wherever I need to go. Matter of fact, don't even worry about the cheesecake chimichanga, because that's just too much. You need a fork, a knife, and spoon. Forget it. Instead, I probably should be talking to Ben & Jerry's about that, which I'm also stuck on, but that's a whole nother story. I'm starting to go on my tangents again, because the Ben & Jerry cookie cores, something serious. Just don't. Well, do it, but don't. Do it with caution.
The Indoob Podcast.
So once again, I want to thank you all for listening for me for however long I've been talking, and you haven't decided to just tune out completely. But hopefully I'll be able to stay on track and be a little bit more consistent. And hopefully sooner than later I can be on iTunes again. But I want to thank everybody for listening. And again, to find me, I'm all over Twitter at INDOOB. You can go to my website indoob.com. I just spelled it IN. I'm on Facebook on occasion, so don't really look for me there. But you can like my Facebook page, which is at 3SFX Productions. I don't, as of right now, I don't actually have enough to be facebook.com/3SFX whatever. So go ahead, if you're hearing this and you have not liked that page, go make that happen. And feel free to follow me on Twitter, interact with me, because I talk about a whole lot of nonsense, and some sense that is not necessarily nonsense, but interact with me. I mean, let's be friends. Let's be Twitter friends, and we'll chat. And you can also find me on Instagram, also at indoob. Yeah, basically just go to the website indoob.com, because that's where everything is. That's where you'll find everything. So definitely check that out, and I will chat with you all real soon. So remember, if the world didn't suck, we'd all fall off.
Podcast was recorded on planet Earth and produced somewhere in the state of Connecticut. This has been another 3SFX production.
Use your words, Chief. Good boy.